But this is exactly what got us into this problem 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and with the same group of people. See, when the Board of Education recanted on Manchester Valley High School, and they did, they said, our projections now show there is no need to put a high school up there. And I remember coming into office and I said, I don't want to see the numbers now because anybody can look back. I want to see the number that our Board of Commissioners looked at the day they made the decision. And you know what it showed them the day they made the decision? That we did not need that school at all. That almost all of the overage in terms of student capacity was going to be resolved during the 2 or 3 years of construction it was going to take. It was a bad decision. The reason it was made, however, was because a very vocal group of folks said, South Carroll got their high school, Westminster got their high school, we deserve our high school, and some ridiculous Board of Commissioners made an $80 million decision because they weren't willing to step up, do what was right for the citizens, and say, listen, we will work with you, but we are not throwing good money after bad because, you know, you can get 100 people all upset and tell us that we're out of our, or even if it's the whole town. We have an obligation to everybody. Taking this money and continuing down the path of putting the Board of Education in a building that we know is falling apart and is going to cost us twice as much to operate is just nothing short of irresponsible. And frankly, waiting any more on a decision is, especially on the heels of the budget, we're going to make a decision, a major policy decision after the budget. That makes no sense to me. I think we have got to say there really is only one real course of action. It's difficult, we understand it. But Commissioner Frazier, I totally disagree. I don't know if you, once I heard the kinds of numbers that it was going to take to get into that building, the issue of the town and zoning was a part of it. It was sort of, you know, adding insult to injury because we weren't going to get any revenue. But from that moment forward, I didn't see how we could afford to do this anyhow. So we've got something that feeds the long-term interests of the county over here. It's less expensive, and there's another $4 million in play if the Board of Education is willing to do that in terms of staying in that building. That's $4 million more that goes to the whole county. I just don't even, I can't even imagine how we can sit there and say, hey, we want to leave more ambiguity. I mean, do you want to go tell the judge we're going to leave this undecided? I don't, right? And at the same time, make a decision where the numbers are pretty clear. Now, once we get beyond the decision to move this other project forward, which I think is where we have to be, minimal use for a period of time, it's not the greatest investment, but I think we owe that to the town and the citizens. Whether, I'm not in favor of demolition, but if it gets to that point, there's got to be some sort of a trade-off that says you get something worthwhile. I think that's a sort of a standard that we set with Charles Carroll, and I'm comfortable living up to that. But someone's got to realize that unless we're really willing to put, you know, like a ton of money back into this building and restore it with no purpose other than to move the Board of Education, I just don't know how we begin to justify that decision. Every other decision, could we find someone to rent it? Could DGS move someone in there? Those are all options that we would still leave absolutely on the table by going forward with minimal use. We close no doors. And if at the end of 3 years' time, we can't get anything else to go in there, the town wants it to preserve it, that's an option. They don't want it and they want something else, we can help them. But to sit here with a no clear course of action, huge amounts of money undecided, and budgeting sort of hypothetically, I think that's a real problem. And I think it's really to satisfy sort of the very difficult part of this. I hate to say it, guys, but I think we're doing the easy stuff. It's hard to put a program in and cut another program. It's hard to make a decision on this and upset one of the towns. I get all of that, but that's what we're here to do.
We did last year. We made a decision as a group to move forward with this. We allocated some bond money to go into it. We started moving in that direction. Now we've made changes. And by the way, I will not be hindered from meeting with constituents in my district at any time, and I will not stop doing that at any time. If constituents want to meet and they call me, I'm going to be there.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things I deal with. I was informally giving you some feedback from that group. We had it was a very diverse group, and if you need a formal letter with it, I think I can get that to follow. However, at present time, we're up against a time frame here of 1 day, the last day for the budget, basically, and we have to make some kind of decision. As far as the $4 million, you talked about, that's our money that we've given.
It's not our money today.
They have control of it, but it's money we gave to the Board of Ed, and if we get it back, what happens when we need a roof and HVAC on the Winchester building? Do we get requests again to fund that? Because we're going to have to eventually, for all the school buildings, everything else we get comes back to us. I'm sure we'll get a request for same type of things there. So that tells me.
I'm more than happy to sell it to them as is. I am.
These type of things are happening. What now we have to do is start to make a decision. The numbers I look here, and I'm trying to get Scott, no offense, but I want a secondary opinion on a lot of these and where they are. It's like anything else. If I'm going to spend $100 million on something, and this, no matter how you tie it down, it's $100 million. Whether you build a new facility over here, you tear down the old one, you build a new rec council or whatever, the money all comes out to, it's going to be $100 million combination of whatever goes into it long range, and you're not going to skirt that. However, I'm looking at the whole plan. I don't think we're ready to make that major decision quite at this point. I agree with Commissioner Frazier that we need to at least bond some ahead, start looking ahead on this, but we need to start to look at, what other options are coming, are there any, and we need to buy that period of time.